Because so many people ask me how I generate so much gold in this game, I decided to share one of the main ways I do so, and that is by predicting certain changes to the game. So more specifically, buffs and nerfs to certain weapons, or even drop rates, or a certain perk or build. Anyway, I just have a very good understanding of the game, and because I talk to so many players, I'm able to have a good sense of what is considered overpowered, or even what is considered frustrating by other players. And so it's not too hard to see where AGS is going with their patches most of the time. So anyway, we just had a patch this morning, February 24th, where I should not say patch, I should say patch notes regarding the incoming PTR. And so I just read that, and it confirmed some changes I was expecting, and then some more. And so I'll just go over those so that you can have a good understanding of where the market is heading, the meta, and all that. So it will probably help you with your investments, and hopefully you'll be able to generate some gold. And also, just as a note, I don't think I'm learning that to anyone, but the more gold you have and the more influence you can have over the economy in your server. And so, obviously, you won't be able to make hundreds of thousands and or even millions per day unless you already have a good amount of money. But anyway, just to set your expectations, the first item I saw that really caught my eye is the patterns for, well, the Kraken patterns are the patterns that you use for light armor. So just to give an example, the chaps, so that would be light legs, and you get a guaranteed 600 gear score item. And you were already able to get that, and also the refreshing perk, which is guaranteed, and elemental aversion. But now they're adding resilient to the perk pool, and so basically that means that you can get a refreshing elemental aversion and potentially resilient piece, guaranteed 600 at the very least. And so that, in my opinion, that means that those patterns are going to be way more valuable, especially the light and medium version of those patterns. So that would be the Kraken for light, and then the Sturgeon patterns for medium. Those two would be, in my opinion, the ones that would see the biggest price increase. And then, because, well, many people are going to go from Shirking Fort to Elemental Aversion, in my opinion. And those patterns are going to be, well, the most efficient way to go about crafting those items. And then there's also, for the heavy armor users, the mackerel patterns. Don't think those are going to take to increase as much in price, because I think many people prefer refreshing ward or freedom instead of refreshing on their heavy armor sets. And also, Shirking Fort is generally preferred to elemental aversion on heavy armor. But like, maybe some meta build comes out, maybe someone will influence the meta in a way where elemental aversion is preferred to Shirking Fort, but right now that is not the case, and so I feel like that one is more of a risk. So yeah, just keep that in mind, but it might also change in price for sure. Um, and then the second biggest change I can see is crafting in general. I know it's a very general statement, but more specifically, golden scarabs are going to see a price increase. At least that's my opinion, because many people were not crafting in the last month, if not for even a longer time. And that means that once people go back to crafting all at the same time, you can bet that the demand will outweigh the supply. And so golden scarabs is one of the most efficient ways that you can go about crafting nowadays. And so that means that they will be in very high demand. And because when you craft with golden scarabs, you use more of the attribute crafting mats. So stuff like iron battle medals, rough leather beaded straps, linen arcane embroidery, iron Guardman's Insignia, Softwood Prayer Beads will all go up in price. I believe the one that is going to increase the most in price is going to be the Linen Arcane Embroidery, because I assume that many people will be crafting for new mage gear and more specifically fire staff gear. So yeah, I would keep an eye on those, and of course all the mats that are used indirectly to craft the attribute mods. So yeah, keep an eye on all of those for sure. They're most likely going to go up in price and by a significant amount, if you ask me for my prediction. And then I know I already mentioned it really quickly, but Firestaff, I believe Firestaff is going to make a comeback in the meta. I could certainly see a Firestaff or two around points, dropping fireballs, pillars of fire, and then potentially incinerates or meteor showers. And I could see them just, if they sync all their spells at the same time, being able to do a significant amount of damage on point. And so yeah, I think because of that, fire staff charms, and anything that relates to fire staff, so that could be the shards. So fire staff shard is going to also increase in price. And yeah, anything that is intelligence related is most likely going to go up in price too. Then the cooldown mats, of course. You need mats to craft. I know, big shocker. But Asmodeum is, in my opinion, the one I would invest in the most, because heavy armor are getting significant buffs. So the first one is, now you get 300 con, or I should say you get grit on 300 con, the attribute perk, instead of the 300 strength where it used to be. So that's already a big change, and I assume some people will need to change some pieces in their gear, or simply more people will be, gravitating around heavy armor because of that change. In combination, of course, with the other change that makes the heavy equip load, it will reduce the incoming CC status effect duration by 20%, and medium is actually 10%. So yeah, I can see a lot more people crafting heavy armor, and when you see heavy armor, that means Asmodeum. And then, of course, if more people are crafting in general, that also means Phoenix Weave, Runic Leather, and then Glittering Ebony are also going to increase in price, but I don't think as much as Asmodeum is going to. And then I would say Runestone is more of a very short term, like maybe the week after the patch release date. I assume that runestones are going to be more valuable because they're releasing the Fire Kick heartrune gem, and basically it seems to be the perfect fit for anyone that plays Fire Staff or even Blunderbuss. And so it looks like, if those builds are more popular, then it also means that the heartrune gem is going to be crafted. And also, I guess some people are just curious and they're gonna craft it just to test it. So that's certainly going to increase in value. And then any ring with invigorated punishment is going to increase in value, and even more if they have like 3 desired perks. So I assume something like invigorated punishment, fire damage, and then burning is going to be a big moneymaker. So if you if you craft that one, it's certainly going to sell for a very decent amount, especially if fire staves are as good as I expect them to be, or at least better. And then, on the other side, mortal empowerment is going to be worth way less. So maybe you should sell soon, unless you have a build in mind that can make use of stacks that only last for 2 minutes. I cannot think of many builds that would prefer a stable buff like invigorated punishment over mortal empowerment that actually only lasts for 2 minutes. Anyway, if if you have a build in mind, feel free to share in the comments. I'm actually curious to know what you think is going to use Mortal Empowerment with the incoming nerfs. Anyway, also while I'm on the topic of nerfs, muskets, the elemental damage is going to be affected by the range drop of damage. So that means that, you know, all the damage that we convert as muskets right now is going to be way less well impactful, and also of course the attunement, the powder burn. So you can expect the muskets to be way worse than they used before, than they were before, I should say. And also I haven't tested it right now, but the way that they added, so basically the time that you need to wait between shots, um, apparently it's more of a thing when you're at long range. But anyway, it will mean that we will have to be more patient with our shots. I'm not a big fan of that change. I would have preferred a different change to make the musket more of a medium range weapon if I had to choose. But anyway, it's their game. I can also see big changes coming. You know, the changes to bane range weapons. Another big change I can see affecting the market is the flat 10% damage that you're gonna see on ranged weapons on the Bane perks, that is. So instead of being 5 to 14%, my understanding is it would be 15 to 24% at 600 gear score. So that's a big buff, and that might mean that you'll see more bows, blunderbusses, fire staves, and maybe even void gauntlets. I'm not sure. Like, I think if anyone uses those in PvE, they would use those for the void blade and the oblivion, of course. So I don't know about that one, but of course, the range weapons in general are going to be more popular in PvE, especially if they were dealing elemental damage, because they're removing the elemental damage reductions in the expeditions. So you can expect to see more ranged weapons, and that should mean that the market will adjust, and those Bane ranged weapons are potentially going to be more valuable. But I don't think the price increase will be anything crazy. But yeah, just keep an eye on those. And then I don't think anyone should invest in those, and actually they should be selling if anything. But yeah, now that you can drop ammunition based on like the zone level, I assume. So that means that cartridges and arrows are going to be way cheaper. And well, of course, cartridges were already going to be cheaper because less people are going to play muskets, and muskets are doing are going to shoot less, you know, shots per. I don't know how you want to calculate it, but like per minute or whatever, because of, you know, the accuracy change, and so that means that they will use less cartridges, which means, you know, the price is most likely going to go down. And then another change in the market is with the tools and bags. Now that you can use golden scarabs and choose 2 perks on bags and tools, that means that the more desirable perks will be easier to hit, and that means that the top end of bags and tools are going to be cheaper. I don't know about the floor price, like the cheapest ones. I don't think you're gonna see those be any cheaper, but the top ones, the most desirable perks, are most likely going to be cheaper. And then in general, I would say that anything that is shocking fort, resilient, light armor is going to be cheaper. They're nerfing those. I don't know exactly by how much, but they confirmed that they were going with their nerfs to light, the values for those perks on light armor. And so the change, or the meta, I assume, is going to switch more towards elemental aversion, especially for ranged builds. And I'm not sure if many people are still going to play light melee. I assume most of those people are going to play medium after the PTR patch hits the live server. Um, Simply because, well, like melee, they take more hits. They were already not that tanky, and now that they're nerfing resilient and shirking fort, that means that they, they're even more squishy than they were before. And at the same time, they're buffing the CC status resistance to medium and heavy. Uh, so basically, light melee users, yeah, it's going to be hard for them. Only the very best light melee users are still going to play light melee. Like the risk versus reward is even more skewed towards a meta that favors medium. If you're trying to, play a schizo build or anything, I would certainly consider playing medium right now. And so I don't think you're gonna see big price increase for medium gear, but yeah, heavy gear is probably going to go up in value a tiny bit. Something with shirking fort, resilient, I assume freedom, and then refreshing ward. I hope I was able to help you with your investments and generate some gold with the upcoming patch. I'll be releasing one of those videos per month, and so feel free to subscribe if you want to catch more of those videos in the future.